What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlemania here, back with another video. Join us now as we look at this week's edition of Dynamite, as well as the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including WWE worried about Solo Sikoa, one of the big 4 shows coming to Saudi Arabia, Raw remaining on USA Network until 2025, the real reason Gable Steveson was released, is Wrestlemania returning to Detroit, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Also check out our new videos on Wrestlelamia XL. As always, we won't recap the show, but just look at the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. As always, we start off with the good as number 1, Swerve by Swerve. Christian Cage is a great trash talker, but he got served by Swerve Strickland last night as the AEW World Champion incorporated Christian's recent I Quit loss to Adam Copeland and the Kendrick Lamar-Drake feud into a wicked burn. Swerve nailed it when he told Toronto native Christian that this won't be the last time someone from the West Coast took out a fake father from Toronto. Unfortunately, Strickland's W turned into an L, as we'll see next. As number 2, Swerve never saw it coming. What happens when you think you've got backup and you don't? In Swerve Strickland's case, he got an industrial strength shellacking as the Gates of Agony and Brian Cage destroyed him. While we won't grab the low-hanging fruit and say Swerve got swerved, well actually we did anyway, we will ask whether Swerve's former Mogul Embassy teammates turning on him will lead to manager Prince Nana betraying Strickland next. Number 3, House of Black, Adam Copeland's story is sizzling. The House of Black Adam Copeland story is riveting, not only because of the wrestler's skills, but because Copeland is our first worthy opponent for Malachi Black since he feuded with Cody Rhodes. Malachi has some good series match-wise, but this angle has him trying to corrupt a wrestler many fans are highly invested in, which raises the stakes. Number 4, Death Triangle tease. Is Death Triangle reforming? It's been some time since Punk teamed with the Lucha Brothers, largely due to injuries, but a Death Triangle vs Bullet Club Gold feud has instant classic written all over it. Let's hope that this is more than a tease. Number 5, a well-paced show. Dynamite was a well-paced show that skillfully incorporated storylines with matches to keep things moving and interesting. Even the Jericho Big Bill squash match was okay as it furthered the storyline of both wrestlers' alliance. Number 6, Beretta vs Orange Cassidy, a fitting feud. Trent Beretta vs Orange Cassidy is a feud that is ideal for both wrestlers. Orange Cassidy has been punching out of his weight class for far too long, especially his program against Jon Moxley, and while they show he can play more than a comedy character, this program against a former feud is more believable than him facing main eventers, as newsflash, he's not main event material. The feud is good for Beretta too, as he's been stuck on the sides for far too long, and this could help elevate him further. Adding Don Callis and Chris Statlander to the storyline has potential to further fuel the feud and give Statlander some TV time without a wrestling for a title right now. A new Elite story moving well. Matt and Nicholas Jackson are doing well as evil authority figures, and despite some initial misgivings, we feel that the story is progressing well, with the potential to affect many aspects of AEW, including the Bucks interfering in the World Championship picture to pay Swerve Strickland back for calling their attack on Tony Khan a bitch move. Well, that was a good. What about the bad? Is number 1, not feeling it for Willow vs Mercedes Moné. So far, AEW hasn't done anything to interest fans in the upcoming Willow vs Mercedes Moné match. While we're hopeful the match will deliver in the ring, the storyline driving it has seemed like a case of nothing, giving fans no reason to invest themselves into the match. That was nothing downright ugly, a solid if not spectacular show that suggests Dynamite is back on track with a clear focus. The only question is whether it's too late for AEW to bring back fans who have tuned out after months of inconsistent programming. What did you guys think of Dynamite last night? Let us know in the comments down below. Now let's move on to the news. Now first story looks at WWE Big 4 show coming to Saudi Arabia. On top of today's news is a rumor that the WWE may have Saudi Arabia host one of its major PLEs as part of a new deal with the Saudi Sports Authority. ESPN reported, Turki Al-Sheikh tells ESPN an enhancement to Saudi Arabia's existing agreement with WWE will be announced later this month. Specifically, he's looking to bring January's annual Royal Rumble, or the WWE's top event, Wrestlemania, to Saudi Arabia. Since 2018, WWE's held at least one of its premium live events in Saudi Arabia. WWE first staged events in the kingdom in 2014. On May 25th, after the Undisputed Heavyweight Championship boxing match in Riyadh, WWE will hold a King and Queen of the Rings in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. He also added, His Excellency tells ESPN there are plans for a major UFC event in Riyadh in late 24, early 25. He said the event would be something big compared to the June 22nd card in Riyadh. With past reports that Endeavor is considering joint UFC and WWE shows in the future, could fans see a situation where Saudi Arabia hosts a WWE and UFC live event around the same time? Wrestling News discussed the WWE's expansion into foreign markets along with its existing deal with the Saudi government. WWE has been expanding into international markets with its PLEs as of late and will continue that trend throughout the year while keeping its bigger PLEs in the US. WWE is believed to take in $50 million per show in the country based on the SCS reports. The idea of WWE holding Wrestlemania in Saudi Arabia seems unlikely on paper, as it would prevent the show from becoming a destination event where fans travel around the world to see it. While the Saudi government would likely throw off a hefty payday for Mania, the WWE may want to keep that show for the fans. However, the notion of a different Big Four show appearing in Saudi Arabia seems more likely if the price is right. Next up, Raw remaining on USA Network until 2025. That's good news for fans wondering where Raw would air in the time between the expiration of the WWE's current deal with the USA Network and its new deal with Netflix. It's been reported WWE has confirmed in the new press release that they have entered into a $25 million domestic media rights agreement with NBC Universal for Raw to remain on USA Network for the fourth quarter of 2024, ahead of the move to Netflix in January 2025. Next up, how Backlash proved how much the WWE has changed. Was Backlash France's main event proof positive of how much the WWE has changed since Triple H assumed full control of creative? Well, Meltzer had this to say on the Wrestling Observer Radio. They did not book the most attractive business main event, which is usually something WWE would do. They booked a main event to get Cody Rhodes over in a great wrestling match. Meltzer discussed what other options the WWE had, mainly to book a top name against the American Nightmare. There were far bigger stars that they could have put in that would have been pushed, that would have drawn more viewers, but maybe not would have had better matches for this time. Obviously, there are other matches that you're saving for SummerSlam and bigger shows, but AJ was picked because he's the guy to have a good match. He wasn't picked because he's a big draw in that spot. WWE hasn't pushed AJ as a main event wrestler in some time, although he does occasionally get the main event match, so some fans were surprised when he was booked as Cody's first major opponent following his Undisputed Championship win at WrestleMania 40. Meltzer continued on saying, "It's a difference in philosophy. You can agree if it's good or bad, but it's a difference in philosophy. Vince would never pick a main event based on match quality on a pay-per-view, but Levesque did. Triple H has been running the WWE's creative for some time, even before Vince McMahon's abrupt exit." Next up, the real reason why Gable Steveson was released. Now, if you're wondering why the WWE released Olympic gold medalist Gable Steveson after years of working to prepare him for the ring, well, Meltzer discussed the reason behind the release during a recent Wrestling Observer Radio, revealing Steveson had a very big money contract and he wasn't cutting it. Next up, Wrestlemania returning to Detroit. There's interesting news concerning a future Wrestlemania site, as according to the local Detroit radio, the Detroit Sports Commission is preparing a bid to host Wrestlemania 43 at Ford Field in 2027 in celebration of 20 years of Wrestlemania 23 and 40 years of Wrestlemania 3. As fans have seen stories like Saudi Arabia wanting Wrestlemania, the competition to land a Mania is hotter than ever. And finally, WWE worried about Solo Sikoa. Is Solo Sikoa about to be outshined in the bloodline? Rumor has it that the WWE is concerned that Jacob Fatu could make Solo look like a junior member of the bloodline. That's if he should join the group, as many fans believe. WrestleVotes is reporting, interesting tidbit here, sources suggest that Solo Sikoa's recent aggressive streak is part of a strategy to establish him as the main force within this new phase of the bloodline, ahead of Jacob Fatu's debut. However, some trepidation remains within creative over fear that Fatu's presence could outshine Solo at this stage. Jacob has a great look and was pushed strongly in Major League Wrestling, but that's no guarantee of superstardom in WWE. As for Solo's so-called recent aggressive streak, it could be part of the WWE's efforts to rehabilitate Solo's image after months of him jobbing at live events. While they still treat most live events as meaningless in the grand picture, Solo hasn't been an unstoppable monster on TV for some time, and the WWE stumbled by not pushing him stronger before he took over the bloodline. What do you guys think? Is Solo going to be outshined? Let us know in the comments down below. I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.